Okay, so I have been contacted by a local congressman to discuss my personal opinions and thoughts regarding the state of the U.S. health system and in regards to the Iron Triangle. So, the Iron Triangle, just as a background, I think we all pretty much know what it is, but its cost, quality, and access are the three cornerstones of the Iron Triangle, and they highlight kind of the three big issues that we have, and that we're always trying to improve and make better. And the problem with it is the ideal health system would be low cost, best quality, and broad access for everyone. However, anytime you move one cornerstone of the triangle, the other two are affected negatively. So when you lower costs, you can expect quality to go down and access to decrease. And then when you increase access to everyone, the cost goes up, and again, the quality starts to go down. And then again, for quality, when you increase quality, the cost goes up and access goes down. So this was invented by William Kissick back in 1994. So a lot of time has passed since then, and people actually think that there should be a fourth corner to the Iron Triangle to make it an iron square. But the big controversy is, what should that fourth cornerstone be? So an article I used here in my research argued that they think choice should be the fourth cornerstone, but I think it should be technology, and I'll explain that later on. But I'll talk about the three cornerstones of Kissick's Iron Triangle. So first is cost, and we all know, in healthcare, we'd love to treat everybody and take care of everyone and just have an infinite amount of money. But unfortunately, that's not how reality works. And in order to spend money treating patients, we have to make money because it is a business. And so that's just the first layer of complex issues that we face in healthcare with cost. But on top of that, we also have third-party payers, insurance, Medicare, Medicaid. There's a lot of stakeholders involved in the payment and reimbursement processes of healthcare. But something I found really interesting from that article was the idea of capitation. And they claim that capitation is when a patient is assigned to a doctor, and the doctor gets a monthly or a flat annual fee for that patient, no matter how much the patient sees that doctor. So it gives an incentive to the doctor to do a better job, because they're not going to get, it's not fee for service. It's not like they're going to get paid more for doing more care or more work. And then it's also better for the patient because it's a flat fee. It's not going to go up. There's no surprises. I think that it's a predictable price that the patient would pay, instead of getting treated for something and getting a bill months later. And I've actually heard of this before. My dad has a friend who's a doctor who actually took on, I think it was, I believe it was 50 patients, and they each paid a flat fee for the entire year of just $2,000. And he had all the equipment himself, or I guess most of it. I don't think he has everything, but he had most of the equipment himself, and just treated these patients throughout the year. $2,000 for each patient. He only has 50 of them, and they have unlimited access to him. But I think something to note is that he gets to pick what patients he takes on. So he's not going to take on patients that may cost him more money. And I think that can be an issue with capitation, that people really wouldn't suspect. But if you're assigned a doctor, that might be a way to correct that. So also, I did some research with the CDC, and it listed the total national health expenditure was 3.2 trillion in 2015, and that makes it 17.8% of the GDP. And so we know it talks a lot in the chapter, in previous chapters, and in every class we talk about how expensive healthcare is in the US, and it just seems to be getting worse every year. Next, I want to talk about quality. So this goes back to chapter 2 of the textbook in regards to inputs and outputs. The big question is what's going into what we're putting into healthcare. Are we getting out of it what we should be getting? And the chapter just basically told us no, because we're putting in so much money, more so than every other country or every other developed country, and we're not getting the health outcomes that we should be getting. And so it goes to the problem of whether or not we are getting quality care, which we're not. But something else to do with quality is, what does quality mean? So I took an undergrad class, and my minor was healthcare administration at Texas State. And in Dr. Molesky's patient quality management class, we discussed the different opinions of quality. Everybody has a different opinion of what quality is. Some people may say this standard bed in a hospital, the sheets are scratchy, or I'm not getting the food that I want. Whereas other people may think that that's perfect because they don't have a bed at home, or they're not getting meals where they live. And so there's just a different opinion. Quality is so subjective that it's really hard to decide or to determine what quality should be. So in that class, we kind of talked about needs versus wants, and meeting people's needs and then having the option for wants. But it's just a complex situation, and it makes it really difficult to ensure quality for everyone, because not everybody claims quality. Not everybody sees it as the same thing. And then, historically, healthcare used to be the sick house. You just went there to die, basically. Unfortunately, that was a very archaic kind of mindset. And now we have resort-style treatment facilities. So that kind of shows how the standard of care is just constantly increasing. And now we have apps on our smartphones and the HCAHPS that's continuously raising the bar of quality of care and expecting more out of healthcare facilities, which that's a great thing, because we do want better quality, but that's very hard for us healthcare administrators, because it's expensive and it's harder to do with more people getting access and with a higher price and everything. So moving on to that, I moved to access. And this is kind of the most difficult to define, because you could mean physical access to a provider. People out in rural areas really don't have access to specialized care. And sometimes not even, the closest hospital or doctor could be miles and miles away. And so that could be an issue with access, as well as the affordability of care. Many people don't seek care simply because they can't afford it. We are very lucky at Texas State. The Student Health Center subsidizes so much of it that, for me, it's hard to know exactly how much something is, because at the health center it's a lot cheaper. And then also even access to effective health care, not only just care in general, but effective health care. If you don't like the doctor that lives down the street from you, well, then how far are you going to have to go to find a doctor that you do like, or that that can treat you. So according to the CDC, 4.4% of Americans failed to get health care due to cost. And then they claim that 88.1% of Americans failed to list a usual place of health needs. So that's kind of a physical barrier. They just don't have a primary care physician to see, or any place that they would go to meet their healthcare needs besides the emergency room. And then they also listed that 28.2 million Americans without insurance under the age of 65. So again, we just don't have, not everybody is insured, and there's a limit to the access we can provide. The ACA has focused on this problem, and definitely the number of people covered has gone down drastically. And the book mentions that even if the number of people covered has increased drastically. I don't know if I said that. I might have said decreased. But the book mentions that even if the Affordable Care Act were to be repealed under the new administration, that the effects probably won't go away, and we're still going to see the ACA in the process of working, even if it goes away. So that kind of covers Kissik's 3 cornerstones. I'm briefly going to talk about the 4th cornerstone, because this is kind of the main thing that I wanted to discuss as far as opinion-wise. So the article said that it should be choice because we are moving to a patient-centered care. So they believe that the patient should be informed, respected, and involved in their care. I agree with that. I really do. I agree completely. Patient autonomy is an important aspect of care. It's the understanding, they argue that the understanding of the patient, of their healthcare needs and what they're being told, gives them a more proactive role in their own health, and therefore they will be more likely to take better care of themselves, and then that's less cost and better quality and more active to get health care, so they're going to get more access, kind of a thing. And I agree with that, but in my opinion, I think that's more quality-based. Patient-centered care should definitely be part of the quality cornerstone of Kissik's Iron Triangle. I don't think it needs to be its own separate entity away from the other 3. My opinion, I believe it's technology. The book kind of highlights this, and all of, I just think technology affects all 3 aspects of Kissik's Triangle. It can increase costs, it can decrease costs. There's pros and cons for technology and everything. And then the ACA has acted as a catalyst for more technological advancements and changes. And with technology comes more challenges for managers, though. So it's just a really interesting topic, and I think it affects all 3. So it should be kind of its own cornerstone as part of the Iron Square, in my opinion. But I would love to know your thoughts. I apologize, this went a lot longer than I expected. But I had a lot to say, and I'm curious what y'all think about turning the Iron Triangle into an Iron Square, and what would you put as the 4th cornerstone? I say technology, and so I'm curious what y'all say, or if you disagree or agree.